Since the dawn of the gaming era, there has always been controversy about whether or not video games cause violence. Early examples from the SNES era include Mortal Kombat and Doom, two examples of early and extremely graphic games. Mortal Kombat was the first game of its kind to feature lifelike, realistic violence, complete with blood and gore. Despite these games being a cause of the ERSB rating system's creation in 1994, they were still criticised for putting violent thoughts in children's minds. This trend continued as games became more easily accessible and popular, and shooters became the new norm around the Xbox 360 era, with multiple Call of Duty and Halo games appearing on the system, and online play meaning that these games were popular among groups. Many people do say that these type of games cause people to think violent thoughts, but I personally think it goes deeper. Sometimes it isn't about the game's content, but rather the mindset of the player. Two examples of games that encourage this are Mirror's Edge and Undertale, both extremely different genres of games, but both with one thing in common. Mirror's Edge is a game about a corrupt government, a setup, and tells the story of a city where everyone is watched. But more than that, it's a parkour game. In various parts of each level, you are chased by the police, or blues as they're called. To get past them, you can either knock them unconscious in hand-to-hand combat, or disarm them. However, once they are disarmed, you can then take their gun. This may seem like another shooter type, but in reality it's different. Even though you are given the option to kill all your foes, you are, in a way, encouraged to not to. Doing so slows you down, interrupting the flow of gameplay and stopping your momentum in a scenario where your speed is everything. You are even rewarded if you go through the game without firing a single bullet. A much more recent and notable example is the game Undertale. The tagline for this game being, "The RPG where no one has to die," you are given the option to spare each monster you encounter if you are prepared to go through various dialogue options to gain their trust while being attacked all the while. This is a much more noticeable example of a game where your morality comes into play, with the world altering as you make different choices, you being essentially judged at the game, and the game having different endings. The pacifist, or true ending, which you receive if you have killed no enemy throughout the course of the game. The neutral ending, which you receive if you go through without really caring about who lives or dies, and the genocide ending, which you get if you go out of your way to kill everyone. Each of these are notably different, and each tells a different story. Even without games like this, there are many more which reward logical thinking over rushing in and trying to destroy your enemy. Take the Portal series for example. The turret enemies can be disabled by running into them and knocking them over, but you will be in less danger if you think carefully and use portals to disable them instead. The real point I'm trying to make is, no, I don't believe that video games cause violence. Even if you play a violent game, that is you, the player, choosing to play it as a person. For games where you choose between violence and peace, that is your choice as the player again. In the end, it's all in how you choose to let these games influence you, and therefore no fault of them or the developers, and that is my final opinion.